Good morning. I'm Ebony Clark, and I chose for my long-term project juveniles committing more serious crimes. The one that I really wanted to talk about was Miss Centoya Brown. She was charged with, or I'm sorry, she was convicted with murder and robbery of Johnny Allen. She is now 32 years old, but at the time she was 16. Miss Brown was actually prostituting at the age of 15. She was adopted at a young age. She lived with her biological mother for many years, and her biological mother drank alcohol during her pregnancy, which could have caused Centoya to have the problems that she had as a juvenile, growing up. So when she was adopted, Centoya went through this rebellious stage that she wasn't going to listen to anything that her adopted mother was telling her to do. Her adopted mother was a very good influence. She had her in church. She was a very smart woman, just a very good woman. And Centoya was very rebellious. So Centoya ran away, and when she ran away from home, she began to prostitute, and that's when she got into trouble. She decided to sleep with Mr. Johnny, and when she did, she was going to sleep with him for $150, and she was going to take it back to what we would call her pimp. And she was frightened for her life. She was afraid that this gentleman was going to do something to her. And Centoya, in self-defense, shot Johnny and actually killed him. This is a huge crime for someone at the age of 16 years old. So that's where we get into the more serious crimes. The media actually portrayed her to be a monster. They made it to be that she was out here. She was a prostitute. She was robbing this man. She killed him. She took everything. And then, she went back to her pimp, and, that was it. She had no remorse, when actually that wasn't the case. Centoya was actually afraid for her life. Centoya did have to, she said she felt that she had to steal something from the home, because if she didn't come back with anything to her pimp, that, it could have been her life on the line. And when we think about these crimes of murdering and robbing, prostitution, we think automatically of adults. We think that adults are out here committing these crimes, when actually, there's also children that's doing it. So the media actually, they talked more about it as she turned 18. And Centoya actually, she fought for this, and she was supposed to do life in prison. And if I'm not mistaken, she did 15 years, and she was able to get out. And she was out on probation. It's sad that a 16-year-old had to go through all that. And to think that a 16-year-old did go through that, the bottom line is, what makes you think that you can do that? Where does these thoughts come from? So during my research, I found that a lot of the problem began while her mother was actually pregnant. It even goes as far back as when her grandmother, was pregnant with her mother. There were so many generational problems there that actually had set Miss Centoya up for failure. So I think a lot of the I'm not going to say all, a lot of the problems come from generations. If your dad was in a gang, hey, I'm going to please my dad, so I'm going to go join this gang. And when I join this gang, I'm going to go out and I'm going to rob and I'm going to sex traffic and drug traffic. And it's hereditary. That's something that, oh, well, let me please my dad, so I'm going to do that. In a way, it's hereditary. And they don't want to break that chain. They don't want to be disappointed. In Miss Centoya's way, it's definitely genetic and hereditary. Her mother, her grandmother, her biological grandmother had a lot of issues, mental issues, and which passed on to Centoya's mother and on to Centoya. I'm not saying that all of that is, why Centoya did what she did, but I think that's one of the reasons that juveniles today get themselves in so much trouble. A lot of it is mental and hereditary and genetics. And some of it is lack of parenting and being around good influence, positive influences. But you guys should actually go check out the documentary on Centoya Brown on Netflix because it's awesome. And